I'm going to say something so controversial that Roman Reigns fans and Cody Rhodes fans, they're all going to think I'm a moron and have lost my mind and say, and this is why wrestling fans shouldn't have opinions. But before you hate comment and unsubscribe, just remember you can't win the belt if you're not a subscriber. So what is my controversial opinion? Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes 3 does not have to happen at WrestleMania. What? I can't believe that you would say something like that, Ken. The absurdity, the audacity. Of course that match has to be at WrestleMania 41. It's too big for anywhere else, but is it? Is it? I personally would love for it to happen at WrestleMania, but I don't think it has to, and I don't think it will. This video aims to do 3 things. It's going to show you why we feel this way. It's going to give you examples of why it's not going to happen and where this match will happen. And I know you're all mad at me for saying what I've said and you're confusing my thoughts for my opinions, but don't unsubscribe to the channel, because if you do, you won't get a chance to win this belt right here. But just being a subscriber doesn't necessarily make you enter into the contest. You have to comment below. Once you comment below and I hit 10,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away the belt or one of the belts behind me free of charge, shipping and everything. All you got to do, like I said, comment below. Why am I doing this? To become a full-time YouTuber. Hopefully by Cody versus Roman 3, I'll be full-time at that point. That would be amazing. But anyways, this is a long video. Let's get back to it. So first, let's go through the examples to show that this is kind of a relatively new concept that we feel that these matches must be at WrestleMania. First, we'll start with The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. They had a trilogy of WrestleMania matches, and you might think to yourself, well, that actually proves that we need to have Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania to do a WrestleMania trilogy as well. And what if I were to tell you that WrestleMania 17 was actually their third match? Because WrestleMania 15 happened, that was their first match, and a month later was the rematch. So think of it like this: if Cody fought Roman at WrestleMania 39, 1 month later, Cody would have had a rematch. So you see, right from the get-go, this perception of a WrestleMania trilogy wasn't really a WrestleMania trilogy. They had matches in between. We just remember the WrestleMania matches and that Limp Bizkit video. I'm not a Limp Bizkit fan, but wow, that was a good video. Sticking with Stone Cold Steve Austin, remember when he arrived to the main event scene, that double turn, WrestleMania 13, when Bret the Hitman Hart had Stone Cold Steve Austin in the sharpshooter, blood pouring down his face, he refused to tap. Bret became a heel, Austin became a face, and that was a WrestleMania moment. You couldn't believe this, right? Well, that was their second outing. Their first match actually happened at Survivor Series, showing you guys that we don't need to save matches for WrestleMania to have WrestleMania moments. Hogan versus Andre the Giant. The immovable object versus the irresistible force. We all know the body slam, though. We all know the body slam, and Hogan does the leg drop. He pins Andre the Giant. That was like the definition of WrestleMania match. So huge, so great, so awesome. But the rematch, it was on a main event, which is similar to Saturday Night Main Event, but on Friday. That's right, free TV, and not just a rematch, but Andre the Giant wins through shenanigans, some of the ultimate shenanigans, and then he sells the title to the $1 Million Man. That was a huge storyline beat. Not only did Hogan actually lose, ending the third longest title reign in history, but then Andre the Giant sells the title to the $1 Million Man. Hogan versus Rock, the icon versus the icon, right? Their rematch? No Way Out 2003, a B-tier pay-per-view, PLE, whatever you want to call it. Literally one of the greatest WrestleMania moments of all time, regulated to No Way Out. I don't even know if they still have No Way Out PLEs. That's how inconsequential that pay-per-view is. It just doesn't exist anymore, and yet that was their rematch. Look at certain rivalries throughout the ages. Triple H versus The Rock never happened at WrestleMania. Mankind versus Undertaker never happened at WrestleMania. John Cena, Randy Orton, you guessed it, not happened at WrestleMania. A lot of things that we remember as these great moments didn't happen at WrestleMania. The TLC match with the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian, that was the second one. The first one happened at SummerSlam. So many things are not happening at WrestleMania. We would love for things to happen at WrestleMania if they can happen at WrestleManias, but they don't have to happen at WrestleManias. For example, Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. This year, WrestleMania 40, that was a great match. That was a great lead-in, right? We were all like, yes, this is awesome. But we forget that Drew McIntyre, he had already wrestled Seth Rollins in the last 365 days twice for that World Heavyweight title. Once at Crown Jewel and once at the Day 1 Raw, January 1st Raw. He wrestled Seth Rollins there. So this was their third match, and yet it seems so new, so fresh. And how did we get to this point where we have to think, no, this match can only be at WrestleMania? Granted, they sell WrestleMania as the biggest show of all, and it is the Super Bowl of wrestling, so we have that to begin with. And I do agree that if we can have grand matches at WrestleMania, that is preferable than just throwing anything together. But I will say this, it also started because of The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. Those three had this very unique, perfect storm situation. They'll sell it as a 4-year storyline, but it wasn't a 4-year storyline. It just happened to be 4 matches spread out over a period of 4 years, and that's because The Undertaker, his body was breaking down. The dude didn't wrestle between Triple H matches, and I think barely even Triple H. Those guys had aged out, and they could only wrestle once, maybe twice a year, and so it was deemed to put them on WrestleMania. So that 4-year storytelling wasn't really 4 years of storytelling. When you start your story at February and it leads into March, that's 2 months of storytelling. It's not WrestleMania to WrestleMania. No, it's February to March. That is when your storytelling takes place. All you can say is, last year we had this match, and now it's starting up again in February. Does that make sense? But it had to happen because Undertaker, well, for one, he had the streak going on. And in order for him to continuously compete at WrestleMania and to defend the streak, which had become more important than any title at the stage of WrestleMania, they just had to do it that way. They basically said, okay, Undertaker, put on your hat and your trench coat around February and we'll get you to WrestleMania, and then once WrestleMania is done, you can be off again until next year. But we now have come to this conclusion that, oh no, certain matches can only happen at WrestleMania. So when Roman beat Cody at WrestleMania, we had to wait a whole year for Cody then to beat Roman at WrestleMania. Now we gotta wait a whole nother year. No, we don't. These are active, healthy competitors. Roman Reigns might not be full-time, but he's definitely part-time enough where we don't have to wait to WrestleMania to have the third match. We had to do it for Undertaker, and that made fans think that we were telling these year-long storylines and long-term booking. It wasn't long-term booking. He just wasn't healthy enough. He straight up wasn't healthy enough to make it to having a match the following month, the following SummerSlam. And now, here we are with all these storylines. What, we're just supposed to believe that Roman Reigns isn't gonna want to fight Cody until WrestleMania? That he's just gonna want to wait? I don't buy that at all. He will want his title back now. We have history that shows that we don't wait a year between matches. We just don't do it. So if it's not WrestleMania, where is Roman versus Cody gonna happen? And I have 2 big possibilities. The first one is a very highly rumored one right now, and it is Crown Jewel. And I know a lot of you are like, no, I don't want it to be Crown Jewel. It needs to happen here. Crown Jewel just doesn't seem right. Well, honestly, and I'm just going to say it because I'm just going to be very blunt, it doesn't matter what you want. It just doesn't, because all that matters is TKO making a lot of money. I don't want Prime to be advertised on the WWE wrestling mat. Doesn't matter what I want. TKO wants money, and Saudi Arabia has money. They have so much money. One time they had a Royal Rumble, the biggest Royal Rumble of all time. I think it had 50 people in it, inconsequential. It had no relevancy whatsoever, but they wanted it, so they flew 50 wrestlers over just to have a Royal Rumble. Saudi Arabia has so much money. At one point, there was news outlets saying they bought WWE. That's how much money they had. They almost owned the WWE. So I think they have a little bit of pull, and if not, they have the money. They are so rich that they pulled Shawn Michaels out of retirement to have one of the worst matches of his entire career. I'm just saying that if Saudi Arabia really wants Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, they're gonna have it. But if they don't, where else could it be? Remember when I was telling you about that rematch between Hogan and Andre the Giant where Hogan lost the title? Guess what they're doing this year? In December, we have Saturday Night Main Event, and that draws numbers. They used to draw upwards to 34 million people watching on a Saturday night. Now, that was back in the day, but I think we could probably still get 10 to 15 million people. And to put that in perspective, Raw, if they're lucky, breaks 2 million now. So we could have upwards to 13 million more people watching as a title change happens with Roman Reigns getting the title. That's an interesting prospect, and that would go a long way in captivating viewers and getting new and old viewers onto the WWE product as we go into WrestleMania season. So I could 100% see Cody versus Roman at either event. Be prepared, guys. Cody versus Roman. As big as it is, there are other big things happening in WWE and story beats happening that have to take place so we can get to certain things. And that means Cody and Roman 3 might not be at WrestleMania. And then what would be at WrestleMania? Well, Jacob Fatu is a presence that's been growing. He could definitely fight Roman and let Roman have a victory. And we could have Rock versus Cody. What about Rock and Roman, though? That's a match that could happen, too. If that match happened, you could have Cody versus Jacob Fatu or Cody versus Randy Orton. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes 3 does not have to happen at WrestleMania, and it probably won't happen. I know it's not the end of the world, but it's also probably not something that you want to see, and it's not something that I necessarily want to see, but it is what it is. It's happened in the past. It's going to happen in the future. I just think it's going to happen right now as well. Please comment below what your thoughts are on if Cody versus Roman don't happen at WrestleMania, and where you feel it should if it doesn't. Guys, girls, have a great day.